Nobody in that room understood what they were looking at. A Barcelona charity event, 19 years ago, a photographer asking a young footballer to hold a baby for a few seconds. Just a favor, just a quick image. The player smiled, held the child, handed him back to his mother, and the moment dissolved into the background noise of an evening nobody remembers for any other reason. That baby was Lamine Yamal. The player holding him was Lionel Messi. And on the night of July 19, 2026, those two people stood on opposite sides of a World Cup final at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, separated by 20 years of life and everything that life had made them into. One of them was chasing his second consecutive world title at 39 years old, defying every biological rule the sport had ever established. The other was 19, playing in his first World Cup final, already a European champion, already the most talked about teenager the game had produced in a generation. Extra time, over 100 minutes without a goal, the whole world holding its breath, and then one moment, one finish, one side erupting and the other collapsing onto the turf. When the whistle finally went, Messi sat on the pitch alone, not moving, not seeking comfort, just sitting with it, present inside one of the worst moments of his career, refusing to hide from what it felt like. And then Yamal stopped celebrating. He turned away from his teammates, who were lifting the trophy behind him, walked through the chaos of a World Cup winning celebration, found the one man in the stadium he had spent the whole night trying to beat, and embraced him. 10 seconds that football people are already describing as the most symbolic image the sport has produced in years. Most people watching live did not fully understand the weight of it until the photograph from 19 years ago started circulating hours later. This is that story. If you have followed Messi's career from the beginning and you want to understand what this moment actually means, subscribe right now, because what we are about to break down goes far deeper than one hug at the end of one match. Start with the confirmed facts, because the facts alone are extraordinary enough without needing anything added to them. Spain beat Argentina 1-0 after extra time. Ferran Torres, a substitute who had barely scored all tournament, met Nico Williams' cross at the near post in the 106th minute and drove it past Emiliano Martinez to end 16 years of Spanish waiting. Argentina, the defending champions, did not manage a single shot on target across 120 minutes. Messi's second World Cup final defeat, the first having come in 2014 when Germany beat Argentina by the same scoreline, also in extra time, also by a single goal. And at the center of the night that ended Messi's most likely final World Cup, a 19-year-old born 2 decades after him. Messi and Yamal became the first players in the history of the competition to start on opposite sides of a World Cup final with a 20-year age gap between them. Not roughly a generation, not approximately. A verified historical first. 20 years exactly. A gap wide enough for a baby in a photograph to become a world champion. Fans felt the symmetry immediately. The phrase that kept appearing across every platform was some version of greatness completing its own circle. Someone being consoled by the very child he inspired without knowing he was inspiring anyone. A legend handing something to a future one without either of them choosing the timing. These things are not invented. They are simply what happened. And the fact that they happened the way they did, on the night they did, in front of the audience they did, is the reason this story travels further than any scoreline. Now the match itself, because this was not Messi arriving at a final on reputation alone. This was arguably the most statistically extraordinary World Cup any individual player had produced at 39 years old in the history of the sport. Follow the road he took just to reach that final. Against Algeria in the group stage, Messi scored a hat-trick on his 200th international appearance, equaling the all-time World Cup goals record and doing it with the composure of a 25-year-old who had been doing this for years, rather than a 39-year-old who by every conventional measure should have been doing considerably less. Against Cape Verde in the round of 32, Argentina were taken to extra time by a debutante nation before finally escaping. Against Egypt in the round of 16, Argentina fell 2-0 behind, and it was Messi who assisted the first comeback goal before scoring the equalizer himself. 4 minutes later, the first team in World Cup knockout history to recover from 2 goals down past the 75th minute and win in regulation. Against Switzerland in the quarterfinal, extra time again before Julian Alvarez finally ended it. Against England in the semifinal, trailing with the clock dying before 2 Messi assists in 7 minutes, turned the entire match inside out and extended 60 years of English hurt into 61. By the time the final kicked off, Messi had 8 goals and 4 assists, tied for the most goals of any player in the competition. 3 separate comebacks navigated, 5 knockout matches survived through nerve and belief and the specific quality that only one person in the world has ever produced with this consistency across this many years. And 1 goal in extra time of the final was the difference between the greatest encore in the sport's history and the outcome that actually arrived. Sport does not write clean endings. This was proof of that at its most precise and its most painful. Now look at Yamal's side of the same night. Born in July 2007, Messi left Barcelona in 2021, 4 years before Yamal made his first team debut, which means everything this teenager knows about Messi, he learned the way millions of children his age learned it. Screens, highlights, stories told by people who watched him play. He never trained alongside him, never shared a dressing room, never got to learn anything directly from the player whose influence shaped everything about how he approached the game. 2 summers before this final, at Euro 2024, a 16-year-old Yamal became the youngest player in history to score at a men's European championship. He did it against a backdrop of people openly questioning whether the stage was too large for him, whether the pressure would expose limitations that his club performances had hidden. He answered those questions on the pitch, the same way he answered them again at 19 in a World Cup final. A teenager who keeps arriving at the sport's most demanding moments and refusing to be made smaller by them. This was not a fluke. This was a pattern already established before this tournament even started. Days before the final, Messi was asked directly about Yamal in a press conference. He did not deflect or produce the kind of diplomatic non-answer that most players offer when asked about opponents. He said plainly that Lamine is a fantastic player, that he had followed him closely because of the Barcelona connection, and that he wished the club he had given everything to nothing but the best. A public, on-record statement of genuine respect delivered to the world's media before the biggest match of both their lives. Think about what it means to be 19 years old and hear that from the player whose posters decorated your childhood. Then think about what it means to go out and beat that player in a World Cup final. The number that keeps appearing in every serious discussion of this match is 20. 20 years between the 2 players who started on opposite sides. And the reason it matters beyond the symbolic is what it reveals about both of them. In almost any other era, a 39-year-old does not start a World Cup final at all. The physical demands of the competition, the recovery requirements, the intensity of knockout football across 7 matches would have ended most careers years before this point. Messi not only started the final, but arrived at it having dragged his country through 3 separate elimination scenarios with goals and assists produced in the moments when the margin for error had completely disappeared. And on the other side, a 19-year-old who had been alive for less time than Messi had been a professional footballer stood across a pitch from him and delivered the kind of performance that does not read like a debut on the largest stage. It reads like a player who belongs there and has always known it. The statistics Messi now carries are the kind that do not fit comfortably inside normal discussion of what football players achieve. 33 goal contributions across 33 career World Cup appearances. 8 of his 13 major tournaments for Argentina ending in the final. A 61% final rate across a career spanning 2 decades. The only player in history to score in the group stage, round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and final of a single World Cup, a feat he achieved in 2022 and extended in 2026. Numbers that sound invented, numbers that are simply real. Then 2014, the last time Messi sat on a losing side in a World Cup final. Germany, 1-0, extra time, a single late goal deciding everything. For years, that defeat was framed as the gap in his legacy, the space between greatness and complete greatness. Then 2022 arrived and the redemption that most people had stopped expecting. He scored twice in the final. Argentina won on penalties, and the gap was finally closed. 2026 was supposed to be the next chapter, the defending champion writing the story forward rather than completing the one that had been unfinished. Instead, it became a strange echo. Another final, another extra time, another single goal, another sitting on the pitch alone when the whistle went. Except there is no next World Cup waiting as a possibility. No 4 years and another attempt. At 39, this was almost certainly it. The last time Messi walks onto a pitch carrying everything Argentina hopes for in a major tournament. Not ending in triumph, ending in tears on the grass while the team that beat him celebrated around him. And that is the specific moment Yamal chose to stop. He turned from his own celebration. He walked through the noise and the confetti and his teammates gathering for the photograph that will go on magazine covers for years. He found Messi and he went to him, not because someone asked him to, not because a camera was pointing in that direction, because a 19-year-old who grew up on Messi highlights, who once sat in his arms without either of them knowing what that photograph would eventually mean, understood that the moment required something beyond celebration. Whatever was said in those 10 seconds has not been made public. It does not need to be. The image carries everything. The world champion and the former world champion. The teenager at the beginning of whatever his career becomes, and the 39-year-old at what feels like the end of the most extraordinary individual career the sport has ever produced. Standing together in the middle of a stadium still roaring with the noise of 60,000 people, in a moment of quiet that neither of them planned and both of them understood. Football does not usually give you this. It usually gives you results and statistics and press conference quotes and transfer fees. The genuine human moment, the one that means something beyond the game, arrives rarely and without announcement. July 19th, 2026 gave football one. A photograph from 19 years ago that nobody thought about until the night it became the most shared image connected to a World Cup final. A baby who grew up to beat the man holding him. A legend who inspired someone he never knew he was inspiring. A torch that passed not in any planned or ceremonial way, but in 10 seconds of genuine human contact on a pitch in New Jersey while the world watched without fully understanding what it was seeing until it was already over. Argentina's dream of consecutive titles is finished. Messi's story with the national team may be finished too. But the sport kept moving the way it always moves, from one generation's hands to the next, from one era into another, without waiting for anyone to be ready for the change. One photograph started it, one final closed it, and somewhere between those two moments, the whole arc of what football means was contained. Tell me in the comments what you think Messi's next chapter looks like. Does he retire from international football now, or does he come back one more time? And subscribe, because there is a full tournament retrospective coming, and this World Cup gave us more to break down than any in living memory. Do not miss it.